Okay, we're going big with our first superhero movie, number 67, Iron Man 3. Welcome to Long Play Video. Well, welcome to Long Play Video. We're going through my 100 films of all time. For some inexplicable reason, the shop's really busy for this one. It just really popular. I think word must have got out that at number 67, for the first time and only time really in the 100 films, we're talking about a superhero movie, and the fans go wild. This is both the problem and solution to all of cinema's ills. So.
I might have spread a rumor that the celebrity in question might be here.
Going to be a lot of disappointed people. I mean, even for an indie video shop, it seems that superhero movies are more popular than they deserve to be. But at number 67, then, as my one and only Marvel entry on the list, is Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Controversial. I don't know. How do you? Where do we even start? Where do we even start with these things?
Where do we start? That's a good point. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I do remember when the Marvel universe started, and it was such an exciting sort of time. And obviously, you had Robert Downey Jr. coming back from, he'd obviously. I remember him from films back in the 80s, and he was, an interesting, different actor then. Yeah. And then he comes back into this, starts this whole universe off. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool. This sounds interesting. And it builds and builds. And now I feel like I have complete hatred for the universe. I'm just like, it's so annoying and over complicated. You were pushing out like 4 movies a year. It's just like, I don't know, just went from one side to the other. Yeah. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on the universe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it took over, didn't it? And I don't know whether that's I don't know whether you can almost blame Marvel for that, or was there there was an appetite for anything else kind of at the time, or they just kind of dominated what they were doing. I remember I think I remember at the beginning though that the films were much kind of denser together and kind of moved the story on more, I guess, because a lot of them were origin stories, right? So between Iron Man and Iron Man 3, it's actually only 5 years. So you get Iron Man, you actually get the Incredible Hulk, the Ed Norton
one,
version. Then Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the first Avengers, and then Iron Man 3 is like the beginning of phase 2. And for me, I think like that's where it starts to all just go a bit wrong and get just a bit much. I think after this, with the exception of kind of Guardians of the Galaxy and Black Panther, which were kind of standalone movies and were kind of different. For me, it kind of all got to just a film would just be the trailer for the next film. And it just kind of got really annoying that, you wouldn't actually have a story arc within the film itself. It would all just be like leading on to the next one. So this is kind of, for me, this is like the last time for me that there was like the film has a complete story and character arc within it. There is like a cameo at the end, but that's sort of for comedy's sake rather than like setting up the trailer for the next one. So
I think you're right, and I think it just got sort of, rather than stay in like where it was at, it tried to always go bigger and better every single film, and so it just meant, you've got like the odd crazy baddie, then all of a sudden it's more baddies, then there's a planet of baddies, then we're in the galaxy, then there's the universe, and you're just like, you just gone to, I get that obviously you're trying to make it real as well, with like, obviously if all of these people existed and you've got the Incredible Hulk, they'd just come in and help out the Hulk and it'd be done. I get that in a real universe, but It's a film. Just get past that. We understand that they may not turn up in this film because they're not supposed to be in this film, and it's just a film. It's not really a universe.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I feel like they tried to make it too real. Like, oh yeah, but if this person did come down, what would Tony Stark be doing? Because would he be here or is he going to be? And you're like, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just a film. Get on with it.
he could be on
So
holiday. It doesn't. It just
yeah,
doesn't. It just doesn't. Yeah,
exactly.
and that's why I really like. I think why I really like this one, probably over
Mm,
Iron Man as well. I think this is the
yeah,
perfect blend of like believable, but
yeah,
like completely not as well. I think that's the
mm,
great thing about this is there are a lot of like really human pieces in this. And
yeah,
yeah, we won't go into spoilers.
yeah,
We'll talk about it after we've watched it. But like for me, it really balances well with like this is actually a really human and like real response to what's going on. And then obviously
mm,
like just some really just sort of yeah, completely unrealistic, completely like comic book made up stuff
yeah,
that's just fun and is just
yeah,
like a bit
yeah,
silly and a bit like fun and cheesy, but entertaining and escapism and everything. And I think with this one, it blends that together. Like with even with Iron Man, I
mm,
like the special effects and stuff in this film. Like
yeah.
it's just so
It's
much
just
better
much better.
than Iron Man.
Yeah,
Which actually, so let me pass you over the cover as an example.
yeah,
And here, I mean, we've got the box set. So here are the covers for Iron Man 3, but also Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 1. And you can kind
yeah,
of see, obviously, yeah, like in
yeah,
this, the cover is Tony Stark as like
yeah,
as the main person, whereas I think in the others,
yeah,
it's Iron Man as the main person, like with the hood down. And yeah,
yeah,
and you can just sort of see like
yeah, true.
instantly just like how much better the graphics and everything else are in this one,
Yeah,
like
yeah, definitely. And I think, without giving any spoilers away, but there's extra bits in this that that makes it the far-fetched piece is really fun and exciting. And you're like, that's exactly what I want from my man. I want all of these little bits that you've done is what I want from the extra piece. And
yeah.
then I think that, you've the cast is so good as well. Obviously you've got Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow in all of them. But I think added in Guy Pearce and Ben Kingsley into
Mm,
this one, I think that really helps elevate it. And as you're saying, which makes it a really one of the original Iron Man I like because obviously it's the origin story. But I think you're right. This just has the effects and that sort of the superhero part of it is so much better, and the
yeah.
story's still good because you brought in heavyweight actors like Guy Pearce and Ben Kingsley, which I think really hold the story still as well.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening to a podcast and the guy, one of the guys on it, just kept saying a poor man's Val Kilmer, and he didn't know who Guy Pearce was, and he just kept
Oh
saying
wow.
like poor man Val Kilmer. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
wow, that's yeah. The Guy Pearce has been around at the same time as Val Kilmer, surely.
I
But
mean,
I mean,
you're in
yeah,
Australia, so obviously he's on every
yeah,
billboard, every ad.
yeah. They just re-show his episodes of Neighbours on loop every day. Guy Pearce is a great actor. He's done some fantastic films. That's
Yeah.
yeah. I would say that no disrespect to Val Kilmer, but I thought he was a better actor than Val Kilmer.
You say the
So
Val Kilmer's a poor man.
poor man's Guy Pearce. Yeah.
I mean,
No.
if you're gonna compare compare the list of films, and yeah,
Mm.
he's probably
Yeah.
up
He's
there.
he's done some great films. Memento's brilliant. He's yeah. What's the LA
LA
Confidential?
Confidential, yeah, he's in Hurt
Yeah.
Locker. He's yeah,
Oh yeah, he's in Hurt Locker. Yeah, great film.
yeah,
Yeah, I think yeah the actors are really what pulls this together because I think you're right. Really, generally, I think for me, I mainly find the origin stories are normally the best films in
mm,
the sort of sequel superhero ones. But
yeah,
I think you're right for this one. I'm with you on this one. I think Iron Man 3 is the best, and I think for what I just said, the superhero element is and the special effects part of that is just next level. It's so good.
yeah,
Um, but the fact that they add in these great actors, I think, and then that the story still holds up, and I think that really helps. I think if you didn't have good actors put in to pull the story up, it would be like all the other, Marvel films where it's just really good bit of action, but there's no real depth to it.
yeah, yeah. And so which is interesting, like because yeah, so it's directed by Shane Black. who
Huh.
yeah, sort of obviously wrote and yeah, kind of didn't direct, but kind of wrote and did everything for the Lethal
Yeah.
Weapons movies and Last Boy Scout. And then
Yeah.
he directs Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and the other guys, which are both sort of yeah, very similar
Yeah.
movies. And I think you can kind of really see it's yeah, it's in some ways it's more of a Shane Black movie than it is a Marvel movie. Yeah, there, you
Mm.
know, then again, no spoilers, but like at times, especially towards the end, it's basically a buddy cop movie
Yeah.
with the two of them. And I think, yeah, especially from like the other guys and sort of Lethal Weapon, you can kind of see that. And then yeah, Drew Pearce as the writer. So obviously having just written The Fall Guy, which I believe that you took some time
Yes.
off from the shop to
Yeah.
go and see. What did you think?
It was. It's too long. It's definitely too long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think, which was too long.
Two
Or
hours
maybe
too long?
you know what? Like the first, like probably hour and a half, I was just really into it. I was like, actually, it's really good. And obviously, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt are just both fantastic actors. They really hold the screen, and um, and the supporting cast was really good as well. And so actually, I was, just generally like watching again. Oh, this is really good, and not really thinking about it. And then it got to probably, I don't know, about an hour and 40, and I was like, oh, these scenes are starting to drag on a bit. Actually, they overplayed a few scenes near the back end, and then at the end, they massively overplayed the final scene way too
Mm.
long. So it was good, but yeah, too long. Good, but not great, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, fair. And but like you can I'm sure from that as well as you know the other things that he's written which is like
Mm.
Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and
Yeah.
Hobbs and Shaw, which I know was a personal favorite of yours.
Yeah.
But you can sort of
Yeah.
see like the dialogue again, like very snappy, very yeah, kind of one-liners and back and forth. It's actually
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
really interesting that he was over and there's a few podcasts that interview him about it, but he was over in
Oh yeah.
LA and basically wanted to pitch for Iron Man 3, but didn't like hand in the submission or something in time. And then
Oh
because
wow.
of the Icelandic volcano meant that all his flights got cancelled. Obviously, all
Oh
flights got
no.
cancelled while he was in LA, so he couldn't get home. But like someone else's flight meant that they couldn't get to LA, so then he was allowed to pitch for it and what he wanted to do.
Wow.
And so then he pitched for it. But he says that like it took him, I think like 2.5 years to write, and he said like that he was working
Mm.
literally like 10 or 12 10 or 12 hours a day, so he got paid,
Yeah.
I think he got paid like 80 grand for it or something, and he worked it out to like a £9 per hour rate
Wow.
to write a movie, obviously, that
Wow.
went on to make 1.2 billion dollars at the box
Oh my
office.
word.
And
I
yeah.
really hope he had some shares or something in the merchandise because that's not good.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's quite funny when he's talking about it. But yeah, it's no, so I do, yeah, I definitely do think, and that's again what I kind of like about it, that it definitely is a
Mm.
superhero movie, but it kind of is
Yeah.
also a detective movie. It's also yeah, a buddy cop movie at times.
Yeah.
You know, they say that there's essentially only like three superhero movies that you can tell, right? There's the origin of the
Yeah.
story, there's the going bad story, and there's the is it me or the suit or the power, or like
Yeah.
is it, and then this definitely obviously falls into the third category where it's
Yeah.
like who is Iron Man? Is Iron Man Tony Stark,
Yeah.
or is it like the suits?
Is it the suit?
But
Yeah.
I think they just play it really really well with this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I do think it gets sort of set apart.
Yeah. I do think, yeah, like I said, I think like they held the story up and obviously the special effects are really good. Yeah, that's from what I remember. Obviously, when I watch it again, I might hate it. Who knows? That I've been, been so burnt from Marvel now that maybe everything's gone bad.
You'll be
But
expecting the Fletcher from Whiplash to turn up. You were like, oh,
yeah, yeah,
I thought this was
exactly.
the Whiplash one.
Yeah.
Do,
Imagine if he's in this. That would be such a great cameo.
do you remember?
Mm.
I was looking it up. I went to see it on the opening Friday in London
Yeah.
in Leicester Square Odeon. in
Yeah.
3D. Funnily enough, this was I was
Oh
like, no,
wow.
yeah, you remember 3D was a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went to see it. I went with my wife, and yeah, we went to see it quite early.
Yeah.
And yeah, like did think it was just really like super fun. It's a great cinema story, like
Yeah.
movie as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, I remember sort of yeah coming out, obviously being quite late, going for a drink afterwards, and just yeah having just a smile on my face because it's just so enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a proper cinema film, isn't it? It's obviously it's got the story, but it's also got the great action, and this is what you want to be watching, that sort of action on the big screen. Get your popcorn going, and yeah, come out having thoroughly enjoyed the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the guy that was getting paid £9 per hour.
I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone's
God,
losing sleep. I'm sure he does well for himself. But yeah, it is quite
yeah,
funny hearing him tell the story. So, do you remember
yeah.
when you sort of saw it for the first time? Were you like one
No,
to the cinema for Marvel movies or?
no, not really, not at this point. I'm trying to think when I did first see it. I can't really remember, but they all sort of blend in because
Yeah,
during COVID, you then went through that sort of period of, oh, there's not really then that much to do. So I was like, oh, we'll go back and watch the Marvel films, but in the chronological order as opposed to the order that came out type thing. And so I did that, and so you just sort of, and then they've been on everywhere, and you just it might be on Netflix, and I'll just put it on. So they've just definitely so oversaturated. I just cannot
yeah,
remember when I've seen any of them first, because you're just like, oh, was that this one? Is that one? So I can't remember if I don't think I did see it in the cinema, but yeah, I mean, it is still a good film. I do enjoy it, and I do think Guy Pearce and Ben Kingsley really add gravitas to this film.
yeah.
Um, and I think that makes a big difference. I definitely prefer this one to the second one. I don't think the second one's that good.
No,
Um, this one's definitely way better. The story's better, the action's better. And I remember, I think it's in the second one where they start going into, oh, he's like you said, am I Iron Man? Who should you be Iron Man and all this stuff? Look, it's a superhero movie. We've come to see you be Iron Man. We've
yeah.
not come to the Tony Stark film. We've come to Iron Man 2. I want to see Iron Man. Yeah, I think in this one they worry about that a little bit less, and they just get on with it and go, yeah, I am Iron Man. Let's move on.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well,
yeah,
yeah. I think that's it. That's the thing. I sort of remember this that there's a lot of times when he's not in the suit, but he's
yeah,
still being Iron Man. Like I think there's a
yeah,
lot of times where especially I think when he's waiting for the suit to like charge and stuff, where
yeah,
yeah they sort of play it to quite sort of fun effect, but still like good in it. I
mm,
think that yeah,
yeah,
there's the scene in the second one, isn't there? We can have spoilers because we're not talking about that
yeah,
film, but like when
yeah,
he's eating burgers on the roof of somewhere, like and basically like
yeah,
it's oh, am I Iron Man or am I just a massive douchebag? Whereas in
yeah,
this, it's like, do I have the suit or do I not have the suit? But regardless, I'm still going to be trying to do the same thing, and I'm still going to be like
yeah.
going in the same direction. And I think that's why it works a bit better for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. That reminded me. You're right. There are definitely more scenes of just him, aren't there? Of
Mm,
him as Tony Stark, and obviously, we know he can turn into Iron Man any will now because he's changed the suit. But I think that's why what I really like. Well, I think Michael Keaton's one of my favorite Batmans because
mm,
he's really good at Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
And that's the you need in these scenarios, especially in this thing when you have a suit on, you need that sort of alter ego. You need to keep them together. And I think Robert Downey Jr. does a good job of that as well.
yeah,
And I think they, like you said, they really pull that through in this film a lot more. There's a lot more of him, and that it almost feels like it's an origin story in some ways then, because you
yeah,
kind of, it's kind of like Iron Man 1, but with loads of extra, like you said, really good special effects. So it's like really good at the end.
yeah, yeah. And
Um,
he's kind of discovering how to like do everything almost yeah all over
yeah,
again.
yeah. So it is almost like an origin story, isn't it? So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this one. I think it's gonna be good. And like you said, the only Marvel film on the list, and it's reasonably high up. There's some
Yeah.
other ones that are. So you've obviously got a little crush on RDJ. So,
Funny, I just watched Chaplin.
oh yeah,
he does like the nearly going to cry look very well, doesn't he? I think that's his like patented look,
yeah,
is like the bubbling under
yeah,
emotion. Obviously, clutching his Oscar these days as well.
yeah. It's a good
Although,
story as well, right? Like he obviously went off the rails completely.
yeah,
He got another chance through this pretty much right through Iron Man,
yeah,
and then now he's iconic. Everyone, I mean, obviously we'd still know that he was in other films previous to this. Like I remember him being a little cameo in Weird Science,
yeah,
where he was
classic.
just Robert Downey, I think, in that. I don't think he was even Robert Downey Jr. And but everyone now in the world would know him as Iron Man, right? He is
Yeah,
he's synonymous with that character now.
yeah.
And that's credit to he's a good actor. And then I mean I love the Sherlock films. I really wish he'd done less of these and more of the Sherlock films. Not Iron Man, but less of the
Yeah,
Avengers
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. But to have them at this
Um,
almost at the same time and overlapping, like, yeah,
yeah,
goes to show. I mean,
yeah,
it's and obviously like
yeah,
Marvel since he's not been in it has
yeah,
obviously suffered quite a lot, right? So there's
yeah.
talk about him coming back. Yeah,
Oh, no way. I
yeah,
really hope he doesn't go back. Although obviously they'll offer him so much money, but
yeah. Depends how
it's
much
been
money he's
done.
spent.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How many yachts he's bought. Um, I just don't go back. You've done it. It worked. Go and do stuff that's going to be a bit more like enjoyable. You've got enough money. Don't
Yeah,
go back. Oh,
yeah,
that would be a shame. Not only because he'd gone back, but I would feel less of I'd feel less of him
yeah.
if he goes back because I'd be like, you've got enough money. You don't need to do this.
Well, I mean, hopefully it doesn't get announced in between this pod and us
For two
watching the
pods.
movie, and
Mm.
that'll be fine. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
yeah,
God.
obviously he's worked with Christopher Nolan. You almost sort of think like now go and like work with Wes Anderson, and now go and work with like
Yeah.
Scorsese, and just go and work with all of the
Yeah.
directors that would actually you'd want to work
Yeah.
with, because you don't need to do anything else. Get your little
Yeah.
production company going. Like
Yeah.
it's a playbook that works, right? So.
Yeah, yeah. This and he is a good actor. He's been in like other things that I think have been really good. Just like I said, I love Sherlock. I think he's really good in that. Like,
Yeah.
just go and do something else. Don't go back to this. Like this is falling apart. Don't come in to try and save it when he won't be able to save it. Just
No.
him being in the film, it won't be good enough. They've gone too far. They've made it too big, and I know they had all these phase 3, 4, whatever ideas, and you're just gone too big, and you're gonna have to
Yeah.
reboot right back to phase 1 again. I think really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just so much like there's 70 years of comics to sort of to go back into. And obviously like
Yeah,
I am a comic fan. I've
yeah,
read comics a lot and still have some now. But
yeah.
this is the only comic book movie on the list. I don't
Mm,
think I mean, Batman was probably
mm,
my favorite comic book character, but I don't feel like any of the films actually do
yeah,
justice for me, because what I like about Batman is kind of him always trying to kind of battle, basically
yeah,
becoming the thing that he's trying to
yeah,
kind of put down. And I don't think any of the films have done that kind of effectively. Again, as you kind of say, like with the Bruce Wayne and the thing and the Batman kind of coming
yeah,
together. The first Batman is obviously a classic, and it was
yeah.
definitely like just such a fun
Oh,
film, and
with
just
Jack Nicholson
something
as well.
something just we hadn't seen anything like that at the time, right? It really
Mm,
was sort of
yeah,
completely different genre that just didn't know what was going on, especially with Jack Nicholson doing the
yeah.
Joker. And then The
That's
Dark
so
Knight
good.
Returns, obviously, like his performance as the Joker again is
Yeah,
iconic.
yeah,
But yeah, that with that, the thing is, like, Christian Bale can't play like a normal person, or like Bruce Wayne's supposed to be like a fairly
yeah.
normal person and pass as a normal person. But whenever I see him as Bruce Wayne, you're like, that guy's
Mm.
a psychopath. Just like there's no way that you're thinking that Bruce Wayne is just a normal
Yeah,
person. So
yeah, yeah. That is true. That is very true. Those films are definitely a bit more like intense. All it's more Batman than
yeah,
Bruce Wayne, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And I
Yeah,
think the
and
thing is with DC movies, they're just not fun. Like that, you know, I get it, and
Yeah.
but they go over into the like psychological, like dark. Let's make it gritty. You're like, no, it's a comic book
Yeah.
movie. Let's not make it
Yeah.
gritty. Let's just make it fun
Yeah.
and silly and like fine.
Yeah.
We're all okay with that. It doesn't have to be realistic
Yeah.
because it's not realistic
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
these are comic book movies. So the first time
Yeah.
he punches someone, he would break his
Yeah.
hand, and then that would be
Yeah.
the end of the film. So
Yeah. And he'd be like, ow. Yeah, you're right. That you've nailed it on the head. Like we know they're comic book movies. We know they're not realistic. Superheroes don't exist. So, sorry, massive spoiler for everyone in the world. Superheroes
spoilers.
do not exist. But yeah, but we're happy to go and watch films about them. We enjoy that, and I'm happy to like go into a different world that's been created by someone. Yeah, you don't have to be trying. Like, it's like the same thing that they did with MCU, where they're like, oh, in Avengers, whatever it was, the first one, you guys exploded half of the city, and you know my relatives died, so we're going to come after you. And I'm like, oh, come on, like you know. And then they did it with Superman as well, right? The same thing where you guys crash through all these buildings and stuff, and you know you killed my parents, whatever. And I'm like, I guess you know to get these giant big fight scenes, which is what you really the entertainment piece, which is one of the key things you come for a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to crash into buildings and stuff like that, and obviously we know realistically there'd be people in the buildings and they'll be dead, and you know part of the building would fall on the floor and they'll get killed. We know that, but you know I don't need a film coming back to it and telling me, and I'm like, oh really? Yeah, you're right, because they would be dead. Yeah, it's good to explore these. I don't care. This is a movie.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with villains, isn't it? Because I think there's been a trend, but I think we're kind of coming out of it now of
Yeah.
baddies and villains being like more nuanced, and there's a reason why they're evil or there's a reason why they're bad.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, no, like, yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Everyone is nuanced. There's like two sides to everyone, but it's a movie, so like it doesn't.
Yeah.
Again, if there's a villain.
Yeah.
It's not real to life because there aren't really villains as such
Yeah,
in the real world. So
Yeah.
in which
Apart
case,
from The
like,
Big Short. Yeah.
apart from everyone who worked in finance between the years of 2005 2008.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. You're
Yeah.
just like, and that's again, I think the entire like villain piece in this, and then we'll talk about it a lot. I would imagine. Like, I remember like watching this, and like my first reaction to the villain piece was like, oh, like what are you doing? Like, what? And then when you kind of get to the reveal, you're just like, that is brilliant.
Genius.
That is so good. And then like the baddie is just a baddie. Like there's really there's nothing like more to it. It's just like, oh, this guy's just or girl.
It's a baddie.
No spoilers.
Very nice.
Yeah. Funnily enough, the original main baddie was the girl. Funnily enough, they changed it. We wrote it. Yeah, and comes in just 2 hours 10, so just that little bit shorter than the full guy as well.
The full guy, great news. Yeah.
So we'll try and find a space. I guess the shop's very busy. There's people. I think there's someone actually over there dressed up as Iron Man or looks homemade, so that's not very good. But yeah, we'll pull up a seat somewhere and put it on, and I mean, I think we're going to enjoy it. I'm not going to do anything else. So we'll put it on and we'll see you after the jump.
Fun, I think, was a good description.
Just fun.
It was as I expected.
Yeah.
It's almost good clean fun, isn't it? There's
a
couple of bits that are not clean, but generally it's fine. Yeah, it was good. It was, I think, as we discussed, previously, it is almost an origin story. Like, it kind of almost goes back, but without having to do too much backstory. We already know who Iron Man is. We know how he got the suit, so we don't have to see him build it in a cave. We just get to see him build loads of cool new ones instead, and that's great news. And I think the thing is as well, this reminds me, because I always think like the first Batman films are always good, and the like the origin stories. And with this one, I think as you said as well, they're actually he's in the suit a few times, but actually he only really has two real major scenes, like fighting scenes in the suit, and it's at the
Yeah.
beginning and at the end. And actually, I think that's what makes this so good, because the story then holds the rest of the film together, and you have these two bookends of these great scenes of him in the suit. And I'm like, that's why I feel like it feels so good. I think it's such a well written and constructed script and film, that then you layer on, as you said, the fact you've got these really good explosions, and like all the crazy like effects and stuff,
Yeah.
that it just makes it, that it just really makes it a really good fun film.
Yeah, I mean, what a classic end setting with the cranes and the barrels and the containers, and
Yeah.
it's all different levels. You're just like, oh yeah, this
Mm.
is what a great place to have a finale of a
Yeah.
film with all the,
Yeah.
it feels like a computer game, but in a good
Yeah.
way, and they do that so well with him sort of using all the different suits and running in and out of them and
Oh,
stuff.
so good.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it again. I think
Yeah.
it moves pretty fast, right?
Mm.
I think that's the
Yeah.
thing, is that you go from the experimentation to then the house being blown up, to then like
Yeah.
him and the kid, and then sort of the detective movie when he's figuring out what's happening, and then the kind of finishing with the buddy cop movie basically. But
Yeah.
I checked in, yeah, the house gets destroyed in 35 minutes in. So already
Yeah.
quite a lot's happened by then, and it's only 35
Yeah.
minutes in. So it moves at a good clip as well, which I do think
Yeah.
is really good. And again, yeah, I think the balance between the real world and the fact that it's a superhero movie is just so
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah.
I really like the PTSD scene where he's having a panic attack and he thinks he's been poisoned, and he sort of gets into the suit and stuff, and he's just like, no,
Yeah.
you just had
Yeah.
a panic attack. And
Yeah.
sort of, all the times with the kids when he's like, yeah, don't talk about New York. And he's like, why?
Yeah.
What happened about New York? What
Yeah.
happened here? What happened there?
Yeah.
So that's really good. And then, yeah, for me, I think that when he puts the suit on Pepper
Yeah.
in the explosion, I think that's got to be one of the coolest
Yeah.
scenes in the Marvel universe, to be honest with you. I just think it's so good when you're suddenly like, oh, that's why he was building it. It wasn't to kind of call
Yeah.
it onto him, it was to protect her.
Yeah.
And then I think the fight with the one glove and the one foot is just super cool, because again, he's having to adapt, and it's not the full, he's not all powerful, so he can't just go around, just shooting people and going around. He's got to get his balance, and I think they do that super well, where he's going upside down, he's trying to get the balance of it all. I think that's super good as well.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it really it makes it feel like, although it's a superhero film, it makes it feel sort of almost more human in a way. It feels like it's grounded in like reality a bit more, even though obviously you still have the the superhero element as well. And yeah, I think you're right, adding in his sort of humility. I think that was what I thought about this, and that was something I wrote down. Is you do get a bit, there's still like the bit of the arrogance of sort of Tony Stark, but it's not too much. There's more humility, because he's trying to work out what he's going through, because obviously he's struggled after, like you said, the New York thing, and he's trying to work out who he is, what he does, and he goes back to being, like he says, obviously he's the mechanic, and that's what he goes back to, his roots of, let me just go back and just start building things from scratch, and like enjoying what I used to do before, I became this billionaire and got obsessed about just making loads of Iron Man suits. And so I think for me the story really holds it together. And then obviously all the acting everywhere is like great. All of the actors are great. Obviously, we said about Ben Kingsley, and I mean, Ben Kingsley is just brilliant. And then I was trying to think if there's anyone who hasn't seen this film, and then what the reveal must be like still, because it's such a big reveal that you can't forget it. And I was like, oh, it must be so good when you see it, and he's just in his sort of English accent, and you're like, what? Who is this guy? What's going on? And you're like,
yeah.
oh, that's all right.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I do remember it the first time actually, and I remember sort of you watching the film and you're a bit like, ah, these videos are just like a really sort
yeah,
of weird and a bit hokey and a bit you're kind of like this just feels odd
yeah,
to like the
yeah,
realism of everything else, and I remember almost feeling it like almost eye rolling a little bit. And then when you find like
yeah,
when he's there and you find out that
yeah,
it is supposed to be over the top because it's just someone
yeah,
yeah, sort of doing it to be over the top. It's such a great
yeah.
reveal. And Ben Kingsley,
Oh,
I think they used him a lot better as well because obviously he plays the same character in The Ten Rings, and in that, yeah,
yeah,
it just doesn't work as well. I don't think. It's yeah, he's
yeah,
fine, but it's just the sort of the little touches in this, like when he falls asleep when when he's
yeah,
interrogating, he just like falls
yeah,
asleep halfway through. And I mean, he celebrates a Liverpool goal, which I don't agree with, but apart from that, it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I thought that. I thought I wrote that down. Yeah, obviously the Mandarin is a Liverpool fan.
Yeah,
Yeah, when the guy comes in and then he said like the baddie, like
yeah,
the number two, and he says,
yeah.
what did you tell them? What did you tell them? And he's like, nothing. As if he's like this really clever guy that no one's
Yeah,
going to believe.
yeah. Like,
That was great.
why didn't you press the panic button? Well, I was going to, but then I
Yeah,
panicked.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it's
yeah,
good. And on that point of the humanity of Tony Stark as well, I really love the scene where Pepper comes home and it's sort of the suit that is sort
yeah,
of doing it, and then he's
yeah.
downstairs. Because what I love about that is like they do get that sort of disembodiment really well because
Mm,
obviously he's talking about like them being separate people, like the suit and him, and she
yeah,
or talking about them being the same person, and she's like, you're different people. And then he's
yeah,
like, well, I didn't know if you were going to be out with Aldrich Killian. And then the suit looks at
yeah,
her and she's like,
yeah,
what? And
yeah,
and
yeah,
like and so but then straight away after that she's like, okay, I'm going to bed. And he says, no,
yeah,
sorry, like my fault, like I've been messed up, I can't sleep. Like
yeah,
and I think that's what you that humanity and that like he just
yeah,
sort of immediately is like, no, my fault, like I'm falling to pieces here, I don't know what to do. Just sort of
yeah,
it takes it out of the sort of the macho
yeah,
yeah, kind of him as like, yeah, sort of all powerful, which I think sort of some of the other movies had him as. And I really
yeah,
love that scene because straight away he's like, I just, something's coming for us. There's all this danger and I can't
yeah,
lose you. And I don't know like how to deal with that and stuff. And I think that, yeah, that scene is just really good for kind of actually making him seem way more human than in any
yeah.
of the other movies.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they really do overplay him in the other movies, don't they? And not necessarily in a bad way. Sometimes, you do just need a full-on epic superhero movie where it's all just
Yeah.
ridiculous and unrealistic. But I think for me, the best films are like this one where you really have that humility, you really have that storyline in. And as I said, like yeah, I mean, you're right. He has bits and pieces where he's sort of in the suit and stuff, but he's not doing any fighting for most of the middle part of the
Mhm.
film. It's really at the start and the end, and both those things are great.
Yeah.
But it just shows you that really like I think you said in the first half that this is more like a Tony Stark movie than it is an Iron Man movie,
Yeah.
and I think that's why for me, I think that's why it works so well. And you still get all of the Iron Man suits come out at the end, and you're like, wow, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
And even then, I felt like I remember them being more of that. Like I felt like there was more Iron Man like suit interactions and fight scenes, but there's not. And actually, you don't need more. I mean,
Yeah.
I left it feeling like, oh, why don't we get more of that like Juggernaut one? I wanted to see what he could do. And you're like, well, just got left behind, and that is what it is.
Yeah.
And then Guy Pearce as well, like
Yeah.
the way they interweave his storyline was clever.
Yeah.
And obviously he's a great actor as well. And he didn't play like sort of too sort of crazy or sadistic. He was just sort of, no, I'm like, I'm trying to do something good here. I'm trying to, well, not good, but good for him.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the
And it
thing.
was a
And to like to have to be in the shadows and to have the Mandarin as the face of it, that's a good
yeah,
plan. That's a
clever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he was really good. And I thought he was really good. And then also him as like his power as well as a baddie was good because it did mean that he could get to Iron Man because he was
yeah,
kind of indestructible-ish. But he also had like this crazy heat that could get through the
yeah,
suit. And so you're like, actually, this is, a bit more of a reasonable fight between the two of them. And then obviously they change it around at the end as well. And actually it's Pep who ends up taking him
yeah,
out. So they
yeah.
move it away. So it's not even, Iron Man or Tony Stark that actually saves the day. It's Pepper to the extent, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when she comes back and he's just like, I got nothing. Like it's such
Yeah,
a
yeah,
again, like it's just
yeah,
such a great line. And I do think I
yeah.
remember at the time as well, Pepper dying. You kind of I kind of
Mm,
bought that at the time because she's
mm,
been in all the movies, but she's not been like a central character.
yeah,
So then you are kind
yeah,
of like, oh, you know what? Yeah, like almost like a Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man or something. You're like, yeah, spoilers for Spider-Man if you've not seen it, but yeah, you're kind
yeah,
of like, oh yeah, like they could kill Pepper
yeah,
because actually, like, yeah, she could die because she's important, but she's not just like really
yeah,
important to it. So. Yeah, that's the thing. They have those sort of couple of twists and stuff, which I think is just it was really good.
yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about that. I completely forgot that. Yeah, that you're right. The first time you'd watched that, you'd realize that she died.
Yeah,
Uh-oh. Was there anything new that you specifically noticed this time round?
yeah. I think I feel like they kind of give Don Cheadle like the Roddy character like he sort of comes good
Yeah,
and has a few more scenes,
yeah,
especially towards the end. I mean, I do think the running gag of changing War Machine to Iron Patriot is great
yeah,
because it's one of those jokes that like it's all about branding and stuff. And when the kid's like, oh, that's way cooler, and he's just like, no, it's
yeah,
not. But it
yeah,
is also that I think there's a dig there, isn't there? That yeah, War Machine and Iron Patriot are the same, and so yeah,
yeah,
patriotism is just basically going to war with
yeah,
people,
yeah,
but with a paint job, and I think that's good. And then at the end in the end scenes when he sort of shoots the light out and he's
yeah,
fighting those two people and he shoots the line so that he's sort of he kind of gets his moment as
yeah,
well, which I don't remember as much.
yeah,
The first time around. So I was like, okay, yeah, like it is almost it is a lot of the kind of the buddy cop and obviously, yeah, very Lethal Weapon 2 towards the
yeah,
end. But I mean,
yeah.
I like Lethal Weapon 2, so I've got no problem with that.
Weird, yeah, yeah. I think you're
Diplomatic
right, and even
immunity revoked. Let's say.
and then even like all those scenes you've just described with Don Cheadle, he's not in the suit either, right? So
Yeah,
it's like, and I think that's what's really good. Like you've got it just grounded it a bit more in reality, a bit more, didn't it? And it's
yeah,
not that to say, I mean, I know we said at the start that, if it's a superhero movie, it doesn't have to be realistic. That's fine, we understand that.
yeah,
Um, and I don't think you have to have that. And there's obviously that's, when you get the Avengers, they have to be unrealistic because it's just you've got like seven like superheroes together. So you've got to have
yeah,
something like ridiculous to take them on.
yeah,
Um, but I feel like this one was really like it really like yeah, all of his scenes he's barely in the suit at all, and like
yeah.
I don't even think he doesn't have any fight scenes in the suit, right? I don't think Don
Well,
Cheadle.
he no,
Yeah,
no, he's not in the suit for. Yeah, I mean, even
'cause-
it's funny when he's in the suit and
yeah,
they're trying to open the suit, and he comes out and he like punches the guy,
yeah,
and then he breathes fire, and you just see him. He's like, oh, okay, no, I'm not.
yeah. He's like,
Like,
yeah, you
I'm
breathe
out.
fire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was good. I didn't even really notice that like when I watched it previously. That you're
Mm,
right. It is a bit ridiculous. He breathes fire, but it kind of feels plausible because he'd heated up so much that he needs to release the heat somehow. So it
yeah,
always feels plausible. But when he says it, you're like, yeah, hold on a minute. Is he like a dragon? Like,
yeah, exactly.
what's
Yeah,
happened here?
but that's the funny thing,
Um,
isn't it? It is sort of it is more human, but it's not
yeah,
realistic. Obviously, like there is no
yeah,
realism, and I think there are very few superheroes where you can do that because it's not,
yeah,
Captain
yeah,
America or like Thor and Incredible, like people that have been changed genetically. Like it's still
yeah,
normal people
yeah,
where it's good. And I think if you look at that and the sort of the normal people, especially in Marvel, and you think of for the
yeah,
Avengers, obviously, You've also got Hawkeye, right? And then
Mm.
you know, no one wants to see a standalone
No,
film of Hawkeye,
no, no.
because that's just no one
He's
wants to
just
see that.
yeah.
So
Superhero side of Hawkeye is just not good enough, is it? That's the problem. Like
yeah,
he's a bit part character, really.
yeah. And then Black Widow is again, like is good,
Yeah,
but
same.
yeah, that's the thing. So I think that's why it does really sort of separate out that
Yeah,
it's a normal person,
yeah,
but it kind of works, even though that's the case and is interesting and everything else.
yeah.
And I think that I
And I
think that's
think
why it works for me.
and a lot of like when he like drops off in the town and he's just in this sort of like smaller town and trying to pull things together and he's like he's the mechanic then. Even then, like he goes into bars and stuff like that, and they set it up so that people don't really know who he is. Like no one
Yeah,
really says, "Oh, you hold on," because everyone would know who he is. Absolutely everyone. They've just had an
yeah,
alien attack. Like everyone would know who Tony Stark is. But I love that they did that because you're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I get that everyone would know him, but it doesn't have to be realistic. It's better for the story if they don't really know him and he's just like this guy that's just walked into town and no one really knows who he is and he's just
yeah,
getting on with stuff.
yeah,
And that was much better because I think if everyone had known him and you lose the he can't just move around and use the town like even he has that big fight scene in the town and again he's not got the suit, he just has to
yeah,
sort of manipulate what he does have and
yeah,
then sort of try and get away.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think that was good as well that they did that, and he just like the director and obviously the script writers just decided it doesn't matter. We know realistically everyone would know who he is, but let's just move on and not worry about it. It's a superhero movie, is it? Anyway, so
yeah, yeah,
it's not realistic anyway, so don't
yeah.
worry.
But the tension of the
Uh,
story, there's no,
yeah,
we're not going to make
yeah,
it so realistic that it's,
yeah.
because otherwise you sap the fun
The
out of it,
detriment,
don't you?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's the detriment to the story, and I'd much rather just go right. Yeah, fine. That's what happens, and then move on and enjoy the story rather than be like, oh, isn't this so realistic, but also horrifically boring?
yeah,
And so,
yeah. But that's the
yeah,
thing. Like, obviously, lots of people, that watch these films are like, well, that wouldn't happen, and you're just like, no, I
yeah.
don't think you understand what these films are supposed to be. Like, this
Yeah,
is not a
none of
period
this would
drama.
happen. It's not realistic. Uh,
Yeah,
did you think there was anything that dated it at all? I thought it was all right, actually. I didn't think there
yeah.
was much that really,
No,
yeah,
there was nothing that that I could that particularly dated
yeah,
it. I think even like the effects, funnily enough, I think stand up quite
yeah,
well,
yeah,
especially all of the suits, because I think
yeah,
in later films it's much worse. I mean, geez, Ant-Man
yeah,
and Quantumania was awful. So actually, I think
yeah,
the special effects, I don't know, on
yeah,
my edition definitely stood up and looked pretty
yeah,
good and stuff as well. I
yeah,
think way more than I think the first couple of films that now you sort of look at them and
yeah. It's
I
not the
think you
same.
can kind of tell, because again, like he's in and out of the suits and it's just so much more
Yeah,
sophisticated than especially in the first one, where it's the effects are quite clunky as well. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing because it's like older, isn't it? That first one. I think you're right. That's what makes this one so good. It's almost like the origin film, but with awesome special effects. And we
yeah,
don't have to work out why he built the suit. We already know. So I think that's why this
yeah,
film feels so good because you're like, we've got some really good fight scenes, but also some really good story as well.
yeah.
I feel like that's what it pulls together so much. How did you describe this to the aliens? I feel like they're going to be super interested in this one.
You know what? I don't think we should tell them. I don't think we should give the game away.
Oh,
I think they
you're
should
worried.
watch this and they could maybe they
Yeah.
think it's a documentary. Maybe they think that there's an Iron
Where is
Man.
this Tony Stark character that you have on this planet? Bring
Yeah.
him to me.
So I was just like,
Yeah.
you know what? For me, don't explain this one. Obviously, I'm in
See,
dialogue with them, so
yeah, yeah. That could be the funny thing, wouldn't it? Like Robert Downey Jr. has obviously made so much money from these films, and we're like, yeah. So turns out there are aliens. They've arrived, and they've seen these films, and they want you. And he'd be like, no, 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 I'm just an actor. Yeah, sorry about that. I hope you enjoyed all those millions because you're getting sacrificed.
it'd be
So
like the Mandarin all over again. It'd be like
yeah, yeah,
like
exactly.
meta on meta. That'd be brilliant.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What
Like,
did
Twitter would
you
love that,
have?
wouldn't it?
What were you giving? What were you giving away?
I just put Extreme Robot Wars because a
Nice.
lot of it is like him controlling the robots, not
Yeah.
or controlling the suits, not being in them. So I
yeah.
was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
and obviously the aliens, if they've traveled from a long distance, they would
yeah.
have watched all of Robot Wars, so
I
they'd know
mean,
exactly what it
what
is.
would you do on a long flight? What else should you be doing other than watching Robot Wars?
The old Craig Charles
So,
will be a known voice to them. So they'll go on
oh,
to
amazing.
Red Dwarf afterwards, and yeah, it'll be fine.
That reminds me as well, actually. There was the bit when he's controlling the suit and the truck hits the
Yeah,
suit.
brilliant.
And
Yeah,
again, that's another bit where, when you first saw it, you're like, oh my God. And then you're like, oh no, it's okay. It's just
yeah.
yeah. So there was some really clever, and you're not expecting that at all.
No, no,
There's no reason for you to think about it.
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
completely comes out. Yeah, no, that was another really great bit. And even, I mean,
Yeah.
the rescue is really great as well, because you can tell there's a certain amount of practical events there, right? That's not just on a green screen. So I think it is that,
Yeah.
they are doing that with skydiving, and obviously, yeah, they're kind of, affecting how high they are and stuff. But there's definitely some practical
Yeah.
stunt work going on there. So it does look really cool and does look really real. And then when it hits him, and then it goes straight to his face, and you're like, "Well, what's happening?" And then he's sort of like, "Oh, okay, didn't see that coming."
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that's so good. Which is also so good when that suit then turns up at the end, and he's like, "Oh yeah, here we go," and then it just collapses and falls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Falls down. He's just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, that's a really good bit as well, because you're right, because you're thinking, oh, it's going to go again. And I love the fact that they just remove all the tension from it immediately. They're like, no, it's over. You've lost. And you're like, yeah, that felt really good. Like, you did that really well. Like, it's like it doesn't matter. You haven't got enough suits. It's time to stop this. And I thought they did that really well with the comedy as well.
Yeah.
Was there any genres you could think for this? I mean, it's very superhero films. I was struggling with this, but I was like, yeah, I'll be keen to hear what you thought on this.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think because I think it's a lot of genres, because I do think it is a detective movie and a buddy cop movie almost. So I think it's good. Like, I think that, like, for me, that's why I like it. And obviously there may be a Shane Black movie with Robert Downey Jr. a bit higher up the list. But I think that's the thing, they play around with it enough. And I do think it's I think for me it holds up, like, just so well. Like, even outside of the Marvel universe, you could just watch this film and be fine, right? You don't need to know what's happened. Like, something happened in New York, but it kind of says they were aliens. So you just know that something happened, but you don't have to know the details of that. You just need to know an event happened. So no, I think it works really well.
Yeah, the only thing I thought of was something like completely crazy, which would have been just changing to like a musical. I was just thinking Robert Downey Jr. and Don Cheadle doing a little musical number together could have been quite comical.
You could do like a chorus line of all of the scene in the background.
Yeah, that would have been great. Yeah, like doing the can or something behind it.
Did you think of a question that the film posed?
I didn't really. I was trying to think about this, because it's not like a traditional superhero film, but I couldn't really think of much that I felt that it did. What did you have?
Well, I did quite an interesting question, I think, when he's getting chased in the village or in the town, and she's chasing him, and she says, "Oh, is that all you've got? A cheap trick and a cheesy one-liner?" And he says, "Oh, that could be the name of my autobiography." And I was thinking, what would be the name of your autobiography? That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to think what the name of my autobiography would be.
I feel like maybe I'd have to do yours and you'd have to do mine. I feel like that. We'll bring that in for the next episode, maybe.
Maybe in
think about it.
Patreon, you'll hear what we come up with.
Exactly. Yeah. Season 5 will be us in the audiobook of our autobiographies. But we'll have to do each other's voices. You do mine and I'll do yours.
That would be good. I'm sure people are only too eager to listen to stay around with season 5 now.
Yeah. Any good lines then that you had?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of them, and it's a very snappy dialogue. It's very sort of Bogart-esque, isn't it? I think that it is funny when you say about people not recognizing, but then the guy in the van, and he has the tattoo. And he's like, oh, well, they had to base it on a doll I made because they didn't have a photo. And then you're just like, that line just gets creepier and creepier as you think about it.
That was good.
I love it at the end when he says, okay, I'm going to spot, hang on. And then he stands up and goes in. He's like, what did you say? And he's like, nothing, it was too fast. I think that works super well. And then I think it's really good when he meets the kid and he's got the suit. And the kid says, oh, is that Iron Man? And he says, well, technically I am. And I think again that is it the suit, is it him, I think is just played really well as a comment to everything else. So
I had a couple of good lines. One from Guy Pearce when they're chatting to him and he's like, I'm a visionary, because he's like, oh, you're crazy. And he's like, no, I'm a visionary, but I do own a maniac. He's talking about the Mandarin. And then when Tony's having the fight scene, like you said, when he's only got one of the arms or one of the legs, and he finishes them all, and there's that last guy at the end, and he's just about to like hit him, and he goes, honestly, I hate working here. They are so weird.
He's just like, okay, you can go now.
He's like, you get it, you understand it.
The ones about the Mandarin as well, where I think Guy Pearce says, oh, his Lear was the toast of Croydon, wherever that is. I thought that was good. And then the fact that Tony Stark refers to him as Sir Lawrence Olivier. I thought that was that's a good line as well. So
they did have some really good lines in it. And I think it really helps when you've got, I mean, obviously the writing on this is brilliant. I think the script really pulls it together, but then the actors really bring it to life, don't they? They're such good actors.
Well, the reviews were numerous.
Let's go.
As you would expect. Particularly one of them. So one of them, I'm going to read the first sentence from it, which is one of the most complicated sentences that I've ever read in my life. But further down in the review, they say, do read the Amazon synopsis for a very wordy but ultimately rather vague outline, and that is part of a review that is over 1,000 words long. So I think to call the Amazon synopsis very wordy, I think is a bit bold. But they start off their review with, after marking the first venture into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then having a sequel just 2 years and only one other Avengers film in between. Later, we had to wait 3 years and watch 3 other Avengers films.
My God.
Thor, Captain America, The First Avenger, and Avengers Assemble, before the 2013 release of Iron Man 3 hit the screens. The only proviso was that he did, of course, feature in Avengers Assemble. You know,
Jesus.
What?
That's awful.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you basically made the film sound boring. Just say you enjoyed the film.
Stop trying to chronicle the history of Marvel films as though it's okay. So that was the opening review, which was 1,129 words long.
Can you downvote that one? I don't like that one.
Well, the next one was okay.
But there you go. That's the kind of 3-star reviews that we love on this podcast.
Was okay.
That is a 3-star review. And that's fine.
Then someone said it contains toilet humor, which admittedly I did find rather funny, and all the more surprising as it's heavily related to when the twist is revealed, which I guess it's the bit when he comes out of the bathroom. He's like, no one go in there, and then actually, funnily enough, the girls had to go in there, and they're just like, but like, it's not. There's not a lot of toilet humor. There's just the one gag.
No, that's a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
But perfectly valid 3-star review.
Someone in all caps, I wish the budget for this film had been used to make something with a heart and soul, a new series of Firefly and another Serenity film, which I thought was interesting.
I haven't seen either of those, so I don't know what I like.
You may well be watching one of those in the coming months. So I think that was good.
I don't feel like you could write reviews saying, this money should have been used better. Can you make a different film? It's like, well, no, maybe this money could have been used better to rebuild a child's hospital or something. Like, you can't really say, use this money better, but still make a film.
Yeah. And then the one that I liked the most, moderately good entertainment, but no more than that. Just a day at the office for Iron Man, job done, and filming the can and away home for steak and chips. And you're like,
Nice.
yeah, that sounds like a good movie to me. To be honest with you.
Upvote that one. That's a good 3-star review. Yep, I mean,
yeah. And one person said, whilst there is plenty of action in this and the main storyline is good, the action, even for fantasy, is stretched a little too far. Just didn't think that this was realistic enough. So
yeah. The superhero movie is not realistic. Yeah, bizarre that, isn't it?
yeah.
When will people like realize? I mean, I feel like we've just gone too we've gone too far away from remembering that cinema is just a bit of escapism, and that's what it was designed for.
Yeah.
And it's not designed to recreate. I don't want to go and pay to see someone recreate life on a screen. I can just go outside and do that myself.
Watch people.
I don't need to, yeah, exactly. I could just be in life. So it's designed to be escapism. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. So, considering that no one goes to the cinema when there is like realistic films or there is true to life films, no one goes to watch them. This did $1 billion. So clearly most people want to be entertained. And then some people are like, oh, not realistic enough. You're like, well, did you go to see the films that were realistic, I wonder?
Yeah, it seems strange, but anyhow.
Yeah, do you think it would be better or worse if it came out today?
I said possibly worse because of the oversaturation of Marvel now. Now, I guess if it was all of those other films hadn't come out and it just came out now, then it would do better. But if all the Marvel films had kind of come out and then something like this came out, I think we're just so oversaturated with Marvel.
Yeah.
But Robert Downey Jr. is obviously everyone loves him, so I don't know. I still thought it would be worse. What did you think?
I get what you mean. I think it stands up as a standalone movie. I do think like if all of a sudden all Marvel movies were wiped out and this was the only one, and then in 40 years' time it came out, I think it would still do. I think it would still do pretty well. I think it would do better than most of the other ones, including like the first Iron Man and obviously the Whiplash one. But yeah, no, I think I mean I don't know many films that are going to do $1 billion at the box office these days, and I do think doing as well as it did, I think, was very much a moment in time because it was just after the Avengers. It was phase 2. It was like moving up, considering the first Iron Man only did like I think 300 or 400,000. So like this was that next step up. So yeah, I don't think it would do as well because I think it only did as well because it was at the time. So
interesting. Yeah. So what about the algorithm then?
Well, what did you have? I mean, I think we just dismiss all other Avengers movies because that's just
it's stupid. Obvious. Yeah, I think we discussed this at the start. Really, there's because of the way this one's scripted, and there's like we said, there's less of the superhero type piece of it. There's not as much of him in the suit. So it's real. There are elements of Mission Impossible in it. There are elements of sort of like James. There was very much some James Bond-esque one, especially when he's in the village and he's attacking the cop. So those two are sort of put through, and then Upgrade. Have you seen Upgrade?
Yeah.
So that was my only other one that I thought was a bit closer. But yeah, what about you? Was there much you had?
No, I mean, I think like a detective movie and other Shane Black movies like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and the other guys, I think it's kind of quite closer to those. But yeah, the algorithm just went for a bunch of superhero movies, including Justice League, which tonally and everything else, this is just nothing like. And also Thor Dark World was the like they had the 2 Avengers and then Thor Dark World, which is awful film. So and again, tonally was all over the place. So I'm not giving that to the algo. Like I think it just feels like it was a last minute thing. It was the night before you have to hand in your assignment and you just watch it and you put something in and you haven't
just
thought
write
about
something
it
down.
properly. So
that's fine. It's a 3-star effort from the algo this week.
It just hasn't put the effort in. So so we go 18-14 up against the robots. So all good.
Nice, good. Pulling away. So yeah, so where does it stay on the list then? Is it on the list, up the list? Where's it going?
Yeah, so we're gonna do a little bit of a reshuffle in actual fact, because it's at
Oh yeah,
67. At
yeah,
67 already, I moved Be Kind Rewind down from
yeah. Okay,
when we watched that. With hindsight, maybe that was a bit ambitious, and
yeah,
that was
okay,
maybe
yeah.
moving it a bit higher than I needed. Should have put it. So I'm
It was the
moving.
excitement of the early days,
It
like
was
early pod days. It happens.
2023. I just don't even remember it these days. So I'm
Oh,
moving Be Kind Rewind down to number 77. So that's
yeah, okay,
just below Cock and Ball and above The Visitor, which I'm sure you'll be happy
yeah,
to hear. So
yeah,
then
definitely above the visitor.
so then this slots in at basically the sort of the next number at the list, which is
Mm,
73, which is
okay,
one above Kubo and the Two Strings. But that's because obviously there's
yeah,
been a lot that I've moved much higher up the list. So it
yeah,
almost
yeah.
like this stays where it is, but where it should be is number 73. So
Yeah. Okay. So it's at 73.
yeah,
Okay. So technically moves down then, I guess. Although technically it does. Yeah.
yeah,
Actually moves down.
actually moves down. But then
Yeah.
it's at the same time, it's I've moved other ones up, so it's got to
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
got to
know.
be there.
That's,
How about you?
yeah.
Where did you put it on your list so far?
Yeah. Yeah. I did enjoy this. So it went in the sort of top section for me. So it
Nice.
was in I put it as seventh. So
Okay.
just below the lunchbox and just above the Big Short.
Nice. Nice.
So,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
the Lunchbox and Iron Man 3 is a double feature. Gonna
Yeah.
be a bit jarring, but
Yeah, I think I'd maybe, yeah, you do Lunchbox first and then watch Iron Man as a nice bit of like relief afterwards. And don't watch The Big Short after that because you'll just not be happy about it. Yeah.
So I see that takes the good section up to
Yeah.
47.06%. Is that I
Yeah.
think we have to celebrate if that gets to 50% at some stage.
Well, I think you should definitely celebrate. Yeah.
Well, there's a
Yeah.
lot of films in there that you've not seen. Being
There are some good
just
films in there that I haven't seen.
some good ones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we try and stay away from that bottom section where there's some bad stuff in there, but you're right, that section is reducing in percentage.
I think you still liked watching those movies, even if it's just to criticize them. And Murderer's
Yeah.
Camp is etched on your soul
Oh,
now. So
yeah. See, in this section, Murderer's Camp is actually almost one of the better ones because at least it's crazy.
yeah,
Whereas, yeah, like Looking for Eric once and The Visitor, I mean, we'll not get those hours of my life back.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, and, next week, a small movie. Is it an Andy movie? Is it maybe an Andy movie that you've seen and you didn't realize at the time that you're watching an Andy movie? Who knows?
Oh,
The quote
I
from
feel
it.
like you're trying to rebrand Andy movies, and I'm having none of it. So I will make that judgment next week.
Well, the quote from it is, don't confuse yourself with all these little bills. Wait until I'm your best friend, and then give me a tip. It's so painful. It's like passing a kidney stone.
Great line. Great
It just
line.
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Thanks as ever to Tom Evans for the theme song. You can find out what we're up to and what film we're doing a
Yeah.
day early on Instagram, longplay.video. And we'll see you next week.